Islam is not part of our culture, should never be, and will never be.
But here is your problem, Geert Wilders. Muslims in your own country are wising up to your methods. You want to provoke a furious, angry reaction. You want them out on the streets burning your image, but they're not doing it anymore. I mean, let me quote to you the words in The Economist magazine of Fatima Arslan, who is a Dutch Muslim born in Turkey, and she says the imams told Muslims across the Netherlands that they should not rise up against fitna. Whatever the provocative nature of your message, they should appreciate they live in a democracy and that they too have a platform to tell Holland and the world how wrong you are in your portrayal of Islam.
Listen, once again, for the second time in this interview, I'm not a politician who wants to provoke a violent reaction. I even complimented the day after fitna the Muslim community by their reaction. I didn't make my movie for the Muslim community, I made it for the Dutch and Western community to show them what a danger the Islam is. And if they really wanted this discussion, 1 week after the presentation of fitna, I invited 6 imams to come to a public meeting with television, radio, everybody present to have a discussion with me about fitna. 3 moderate imams and 3 more radical imams. 5 of them said, no way, you have to apologize, we are not coming to debate with you. One of them even wants to take me to court today. So if they really would be able to have a discussion, I mean, they can criticize fitna, they can criticize the Muhammad cartoons, but they do not dare, and this is the soil of the problem, they do not dare to criticize their own terrible ideology and the terrible fascist book like Mein Kampf, which is called the Quran. They are not able to do that. And if they really would to integrate and assimilate in our society, they would come to my invitation to the debate and they would speak out their mind, and then we would have a discussion. They are weak and they are not afraid. They are afraid of doing that.
Interesting that you call the Quran Mein Kampf and you called for it to be banned from the Netherlands. You've also, in different ways, expressed an authoritarian streak. You want to see dual citizens who are convicted of a crime expelled without any judicial process to their country of origin.
With judicial process. Don't make it worse than it is, according to a lot of people. With judicial
process. You've said that you admire the administrative detention system in Israel. You want to see people in Holland locked up indefinitely, without trial. You have become an authoritarian, and yet you defend...
Also, that is not... Please, if you can say whatever you like, but please state the facts. Administrative detention is not without trial. Not in Israel, and not even how I propose it in the Netherlands.
What you're saying is that when you say you are the defender of traditional Dutch democracy, values of liberty and freedom, actually... that isn't quite true. You're defining a new Dutch value, which is based actually on authoritarianism.
No, I mean, this is a concept that even in Germany, you have the possibility for people that they lose their civil rights if they made some kind of crime. Even constitutional rights they can lose. And I believe it is strengthening the rule of law. It is strengthening our democratic society. If you would not allow a minority of persons to commit crimes and to kill everything that we stand for, you will strengthen the society.
What is the difference between you and the National Front in France or the neo-fascist movement, which is increasingly strong in Italy today?
The difference is that I'm not a racist or a xenophobe. I don't hate people. I have a problem with the ideology, the sick, cancerous ideology, Islam, and the dangerous prophet, the barber Muhammad. I believe this is very...
But you have a problem with many things that go beyond Islam. You have a problem with immigration. You have a major problem with immigration.
This is one of my solutions. But I don't...
No, hang on.
I'm not hanging on. I'm answering your question first. Your question was, what do you have in common with those guys? I'm saying I have nothing in common. The first reason I already gave you...
But that's patently not true. You have plenty in common.
No, the second is that, once again, I don't hate people. I have nothing against people who call themselves Muslim. I have something against their ideology. And I want to fight the ideology. And because I want to do that, I believe that we should stop the immigration. Indeed, we should have a full stop of immigration from Muslim countries. We should have a stop of building of mosques in the Netherlands. And maybe even more important, the young children at Islamic schools today in Europe and in the Netherlands that are filled in the head with an ideology of hate ideology of intolerance, those schools should be stopped. So I have indeed measures that perhaps are the same.
Let me just quote you the words of an erstwhile colleague and friend of yours in the party that you used to be in, the VVD, Sam Cherubi. Now, he said that he used to know you well, and he was sure you were not a racist, but then he said you changed. You left the party, the VVD, and he says, Geert wasn't a racist, but he constantly chose a stance and appealed to racism to move into the spotlight. Well, it is a choice you have made.
Well, I mean, this is a political opponent saying political things which are really not true. And this is the problem.
He's an opponent now. He wasn't an opponent. He was a colleague in the party that you left because they weren't extreme enough.
Listen, this is the problem with Europe today. That journalists, with all respect, like yourself, that politicians, that the media, that they say to everybody who stands up and says, I'm not a cultural relativist. Our culture is better and the Islamic culture is retarded. I don't want immigration from Muslim countries. I want to be proud of our identity. I'm not a nationalist, but I'm proud of who we are, and maybe a chauvinist. That those people are labeled as xenophobes, as racist, or invoking racism of a kind of blah blah. And this is all ridiculous. Face the problems today. What are the problems today in Europe? The problems today are connected with immigrations, with backwardness of an ideology that is coming to our continent today.
Wilders,
and it doesn't help if you label us as racist or xenophobe, which we are not.
I have no problem with you taking a pop at journalists. We are elected by nobody. We have no mandate. But lumping politicians with journalists is more problematic. Politicians in the Netherlands have a mandate. The fact is that the mainstream politicians who you routinely dismiss contemptuously as cowards, they are the politicians who win the most votes. By far. By far. They have a mandate to do what they do. You describe it as cowardly. It is what the Dutch people actually want. And that's your problem. You say you're defending the Dutch identity, but then you seem to be at variance with clear majority thinking in your own country.
I'm very sorry to say, I don't want to be nasty every time, but you're really wrong there. If you look at the three governing parties today in the Netherlands that won the elections 2 years ago, they all lost almost half of their electorate in the last 2 years, where we won 50% of the vote when you
Geert Wilders,
back from
you have
2 years.
9 seats out of 150.
Now we have 9 seats.
Look at reality.
We are a new political party. There was not so long ago a poll by an historical magazine in the Netherlands, a respected weekly, and it showed that 62% of the Dutch voters thought that Islam was a threat for their society, and 64% of the Dutch voters thought that the immigration policy was the biggest mistake of the Dutch government after the Second World War. Okay, those numbers are higher than the 10% that we represent today, but they are growing. And I tell you that if the government in Europe, in the Netherlands, in the UK is not changing its tune very fast, those people, those numbers will come to parties like my own party. Not because they think Geert Wilders is such a nice guy, but because they believe that once again the Islam is a threat